This is the World Organic News podcast for the week ending 14th of November 2016. Jon Moore reporting. We begin with an ominous post following on from last week's episode. Home Farming Robot from the blog Englishery. This is a video post showing the planting, watering and a growing season all handled by a farmbot. Water where it's needed and nowhere else. A triumph of engineering. So we are not needed to grow food, produce goods, or perform routine service tasks, as the robot's AI take over these tasks from us. What are we to do? Storytelling is what makes us human. Maybe there's a ray of light there. Maybe. Our next post of interest comes from the blog Alegre, Ecològic. It is intriguingly entitled Soundscapes in the Vineyard. The post discusses the variations in soundscapes between vineyards, based upon the work of one Bernie Krause. Quote, Soundscape ecology is the bio- and geoacoustic branch of ecology that studies acoustic signatures from whatever source within a landscape, this making the soundscape. The soundscape of a given region can be viewed as the sum of three separate sound sources. Geophony is the first sound heard on Earth. Non-biological in nature, it consists of the effect of wind in trees or grasses, waters flowing in a stream, waves at the ocean or lake shoreline, and movements of the earth. Biophony is a term introduced by soundscape ecologist Bernie Krause, who in 1998 first began to express the soundscape in terms of its acoustic sources. End quote. I find this approach fascinating. Can we use this information, long hidden or even ignored, to understand our world a little more deeply? This seems an area of investigation ripe with possibilities. Now we move from a newish field of endeavour, soundscapes, to an ancient technique, the Three Sisters, from the blog An Artist in Spain. Who are these three sisters, I hear you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. They are corn, beans and squash. The Three Sisters idea is to combine these three plants to create a whole greater than the sum of its parts. To quote from the post, quote, the sweet corn grows high and provides a strong frame for the beans to climb up. The beans are nitrogen fixing and increase the fertility of the soil. And the squash provides green mulch, reducing evaporation from the soil whilst protecting it from erosion by heavy rain. The idea isn't to increase the yield of any one specific crop, but to increase the combined productivity of that piece of land whilst also maintaining, open brackets, or preferably improving, close brackets, the quality and integrity of the soil, end quote. The post goes on to explain that this is referred to as a plant guild in permaculture. They then decided to apply this principle to their lives. I'll leave you to read the outcome, but it is positive and enlightening. Following on with the permaculture theme, Permaculture San Juan, Colombia, posted on weeds. This post calls not for a see it and spray it approach, but a more nuanced, deeper understanding of, in air brackets, weeds, and what they can tell us. Quote, every disturbance of vegetation is met with a reaction, be it fire, compaction of the ground, ploughing, erosion, or anything else, and weeds are the first emergency responders. Every plant has a germinating condition, directly connected to the process of disturbance and repair. When, for example, the soil gets compacted, the plants with strong, deep root systems emerge to break up the compaction. Is the ground too loose, for example after ploughing? Then plants with a widespread system of small roots germinate to cast a net that holds the loose soil together. End quote. Whilst most gardening authorities will tell you weeds are plants in the wrong place, the approach suggested in this post would indeed point to weeds being plants exactly where they need to be to keep the soil safe. And a safe soil will not only sustain the plants within it, but all non-oceanic life. Seeing weeds in this light, we can use them to guide us as we assist nature to achieve the best soil in a given location. Just imagine a situation where all soils were rehabilitated by responding to the signals they are sending us through the, in air quotes, weeds. Just imagine, eh? The blog, Turnips and Toadstools, brings us a timely reminder. With this post, good soil. Modern agriculture focuses on crop production over soil cultivation. Exhausted soil is boosted with fertilizers, then sown with thousands of rows of a single plant type, producing high yields but sterilizing the soil. Much the same way, results-driven education teaches to the test in order to yield students who rank high on standardization, but those minds are worked to exhaustion, unable to grow anything of their own. That's a quote from Lindsey Brigham, Good Soil from the Circe Institute, end quote. This succinctly sums up the pact with the devil made by industrialized agriculture since World War II. By using soil as nothing more than a wide-scale hydroponic medium for growing crops, the soil has been destroyed by 1% or thereabouts each year. Weeds become rampant, but as we know, these weeds are trying to tell us what the soil needs. Instead of reading the soil through these weeds, more herbicides are applied. The conditions conducive to weed growth have been encouraged, and the cycle continually feeds upon itself. This is great if you're selling herbicides. If you're thinking about the soil you'll be leaving your grandchildren, not so much. And that brings us to the end of this week's podcast. If you've liked what you've heard, please tell everyone you know any way you can. I'd also appreciate a review on iTunes or whichever podcatcher you use. This helps others to find us. Thanks in advance. Any suggestions, feedback or criticisms of the blog or podcast are most welcome. Email me at podcast@worldorganicnews.com. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back in a week.